How do you extend your Wi-Fi signal from your Starlink router? I'm glad you asked. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much once again joining me for tea time. Today we have a little bit of misty morning and focus combination. So good. That zing, that bergamot. I hope you're joining me with your cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee, hanging out, talking tech, talking photo, talking video. Today is a technology day. I guess it would be more like I would say maybe a review day. Well, a lot of you guys have been asking me, especially in live chats, like how do I extend my signal, let's say. I'm getting really good signal really close to my router, but then as I get further and further away, the signal starts dropping off and my speeds really suffer. And that's exactly what happens as you get further and further away from your Wi-Fi source or your router. So how do we fix this? Now, there's multiple ways of doing this. Now, one of the best ways of going would be creating a mesh network. All right. And I did many videos on this, and that I would say is by far the best way to go. The reason being is you are able to extend your Wi-Fi coverage based on how many nodes or APs or access points that you purchase. So the way it works is you might have your, let's say your Starlink router in the middle of your home. You always want to try to centralize your router as much as possible, right? So you get the greatest coverage as possible in your home. So let's say you have it in the center, but you're not getting full signal on the outskirts of the home. Just maybe you have like a 2,500, 3,000 square foot home, and on the outside edges, the outer periphery, you're just not getting a lot of signal. Or the signal that you're getting is maybe a bar or two less, and now all of a sudden your speeds, instead of getting, let's say 150 megabits down, you're getting maybe 70 or maybe 60 or even less. And this is what is common. So you could do this by buying additional routers from Starlink. You would put the main router in the center, and then on the outer peripheries, you'd put the other access points, which are actually additional routers. But what happens is when you do that, Starlink sees the additional router and says, wait a second, we don't need two routers. Do you want me to use that as an AP, as an access point? And then you say yes, and it immediately creates a mesh network for you. So it's very simple. The other way to do it is to pick up a third party, like what I do, like TP-Link or whoever, anyone else, and then use that as your routing mechanism. So you have your router almost like as a modem to get your signal, and then that goes into your third-party router, and then that would be that router that you stick in the center of the home, and then you get additional APs or nodes for the rest of the house. If you have a two-story house, you're gonna want at least one or two above the main router, and then once again on the outer peripheries, you're gonna want some. Also, if you want to do any type of external Wi-Fi. Let's say you have a barbecue that you do outside all the time, right next to the pool, but you want to sit by that Barbie while you're doing your cooking and be able to watch TV or whatever the case might be. And you want to extend and push this Wi-Fi further out. The best way of doing that is purchasing additional APs that are specific for use outdoors. So they are water resistant, waterproof. All right, that is the ultimate way. And you cannot do that with a Starlink setup because none of the Starlink routers are waterproof. Now, is there ways around that by making enclosures and all kinds of other stuff? Yes. But at that point, it's just better to go with a third party that has indoor as well as outdoor. Now, there's another way of doing this, and this is something that I have found over time that really works well. A lot of you guys out there have taken your Starlink router, for example, or any router at that point, and stuck it inside of a cabinet somewhere, or stuck it on a table down low somewhere, right? What ends up happening is the lower it is, the worse the signal is, the less traveling that it can do. You want to try to get your router to the highest point possible. So you could do it by putting it on the top of a bookshelf, for example, or what I would suggest is mounting it on a wall, but as high as you can. this just ends up being much, much better. It works out better, and your Wi-Fi travels further without you having to do anything. You don't even have to invest in a mesh network, just by simply getting that router off the ground, off a table, and into the air, so to speak, as high up the wall as possible. Well, how do you do that? Well, I was inventing a product for a while, and it was like an enclosure that would attach to a wall, but it never got completed, let's say. That always happens because I'm doing so many inventions all the time. Well, I found a company that did something similar to what I had in my head. It's a little bit different, but I looked at it, I said, you know what? That would most likely work just the way it is. So I purchased it. It was under like 20 bucks. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to show you the installation of it, but it just came. So this is what it looks like. Well, this is what a box looks like. I'm going to take it apart. I'll show you what comes with it. And then what I'll do is I'll show you how to mount it. And hopefully this helps you out, because I know there's people out there that really have had a hard time figuring out how to extend that Wi-Fi, and they don't know the best way of doing it. And they've tried different things, and the bottom line is you just have to get the thing off the ground most of the time, or out of that bookshelf, or away from the obstructions, in open air. Sticking it high up on a wall is your best bet. So anyways, let me go ahead and switch this over to a top-down camera so that we can see what we're doing here. We got my keyboard in the way. That's all right. We'll just leave that. Not a big deal. This is not rocket science here. Let's just see what comes with this. I think everything that we need should be in here, but we will see. We're going to take a look at it and then we'll decide. Normally they would give you screws and what you need, and wow, that's your massive instructions here. Not really a lot to it. So let me put that aside and see what this looks like. All right, here we go. Let me get rid of that. So this is it. Like I said, there's not much to it. Look at that. So what do they give you? A couple little wall mounts and 2 screws. Nothing crazy here, because the thing doesn't weigh that much anyways. Just by looking at it, I can see how this goes, and most likely you can too. So this is the base. So we can see there's like a little clip here that's going to clip to the bottom of the router, and then on each side there's 2 little clips too that look like they wrap around and will clip once again to the sides of the router. So let me go ahead and switch right back over, and just by looking at it, I mean, once again, this is a no-brainer. This is pretty easy. What I would recommend doing, what I do most of the time when there's anything that I want to make sure is really secure on the wall, and it's going to be something that I'm going to be using these little crappy things that I absolutely hate, but it is what it is. What I'll do is, since there's 2 holes, I will find a stud and I will drill into or screw into a stud on one of them, and then the other one I'll use one of these things, because I don't trust these for nothing. All right, I'm not a fan of them. Do they work? Yes. There's better ones than these that are available that actually tap in, they screw in. That's much better. But either which way, what I'll do is I'll find a stud, we'll screw one portion of this into a stud. You know it's not gonna go anywhere because the router doesn't weigh that much, maybe a pound. It's not that much. And we'll do the installation, and then we'll come right back. Let's go do it. So all right, let's start out by covering up this server real quick. We don't want any dust to go into here. That would be a bad thing. And I kind of want to put it up here. So we're like only about a foot off the ceiling. These are 11.5, almost 12-foot ceilings. So we're up here pretty high, and there'll be no obstructions up here at all. I have my APC here, which is a battery backup. This one is solely for the Starlink, and that is it. I like to have one specific to Starlink, and then I have another one down here for the server, which is this Unraid server and the other appliances. So we want to put it right here, and like I said, I want to use a stud, and then we can use the additional screw right into the drywall, which is not a problem. Because once we put something into the stud, we're pretty much golden. So we'll just use a stud finder, see if we can find the stud where it is here. There we go. So that looks like the beginning of it. That's the end right around there. So what we'll do is we'll come in just a little bit, and maybe I'll put a sticker there just so I know where the center of the stud is. That's the beginning. So if we come over just about half an inch, So right about here is where we'll end up putting it. So I know that if I drill right here, I'm gonna hit a stud. And I can feel it compared to here. Big difference. So that's where the stud is. So that's where we're gonna put it. I'll get this started with just a regular screwdriver and then I'll just drill it in. So we know this is where the stud is going to be. And we wanna put this right about here. I think that's good because it's gonna go all the way up to here, because it's like about 8 or 9 inches. This is the unit. So I think right about like this would be pretty good. We don't need it any more higher than that. That's pretty decent. So let's go ahead and put this right here. And I will just stick my little screwdriver in here and I'll make a mark where I want it. I think right around here would be good enough. So I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna make this little hole or a little mark, a little puncture mark, so I know exactly where that's going to go. And that is where I'm gonna drill that screw in. And like I said, that's gonna go right into the stud. So I don't have to worry about this thing moving at all. And I could feel it, it's in the stud, so I know I'm not gonna have to worry about this at all. There we go. We'll straighten that out so it looks nice and straight. We'll tie it down just a little bit extra right there, just like that. And then what we'll do is we'll come in with this screw just to give it a little bit more rigidity, but it really doesn't need it. So we'll take this other one and we'll put that one in there. Make sure that it's nice and level, which it looks like it is. And this is where I like to use a regular screwdriver for kind of hand tightening it, because if not, you're just gonna spin it in the drywall anyways. So we'll just do like that, hand tighten it up a little bit. And as you can see, that is going nowhere because this screw is right into the stud. So we're pretty much good. This little piece of tape we can get rid of, little post-it note. And now this is going to go here, just like that. So I'm gonna run my cables up the wall right now, and then we'll just feed it in. So this would come in like this. We'll put this through like that. This one right here, just so you guys know, this goes into the dongle. You know, I always talk about the dongle. This is going into my dongle down here. And then this one is the power. See what that looks like? These are really nice, because as you can see, they have all of this weatherproofing on them. Even though you cannot take the router and stick it outside, not really, I guess, they do have this weather resistance or weatherproofing, which is really quite nice. The only problem is as you can see with this generation 2, there's no Ethernet port. That's all you have is your power and then your data port, and that is it. So the new ones, I hope, come with an Ethernet port in here, but we'll end up seeing if that happens or not. So this is gonna come through here, just like that. This will plug back into here, just like this. You can see there's a 3-prong here, 3-prong in here. That goes in there. You can feel it, it'll get like suctioned almost in. There you go. And then the same thing holds true with this. This goes just like this into here. It has the perfect shape, so there's no way to screw it up. And then this we're going to back in, and now there's a clip here, and there's a clip on the other side, and then there's a clip in the front. So what we want to do is put this front clip in, just like this. There we go. And then we want to push it back so that then this clip and this clip pops in. Just like that. And there you have it. Now this we're going to run down. I'll make it nice and tidy later on. Maybe I'll use a couple of straps or something, or maybe some white little conduit type stuff to kind of make this invisible, so to speak. But that is all that's to it. It is now plugged in, it's gonna reboot, and we'll be able to use it immediately. And this thing is solid. This isn't going anywhere. And the beauty is here is that it's literally maybe a foot from the ceiling. So the router is sitting at about 10 and a half feet.
in the air. So it's going to cover this entire area really well, and there's no obstructions. In comparison to putting it inside of a bookshelf or putting it on the floor somewhere, you're just not going to get the distance. Whereas with this, you're going to be able to get that Wi-Fi a lot further out.
That was pretty easy, right? So now, instead of having the router on top of my shelf, which is really not a bad spot, but it just takes up room, it's just in the way. I like to have stuff organized as much as possible, and that area is just not as organized as I want it to be. And I have my server there. You can see that's a pretty large server that has about 40 or 50 terabytes of data on that. That's the Unraid server that I built. Matter of fact, you can see the book that I wrote right back here, How to Create a Digital Fort Knox Backing Up Your Digital Life. I wrote that book when I was building that server, and I teach you, I kind of hold your hand on how to do it. Very, very simple with like 10-year-old parts. And it's been working for almost 2 years now. Perfectly. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It just works. Anyways, so I really like the way this is. And like I said, for under 20 bucks, what this will do is will allow open air, let's say. There's no obstructions to the router at all. It will push your Wi-Fi signal out maybe an extra 10 feet, 20 feet. That little bit makes a big difference when it comes to speed. People don't know that. But when you have just if you could be down like 1 bar on your Wi-Fi signal and literally go from like 150 megabits all the way down to like 60, just with that 1 bar of signal, it makes a very big difference. So I would say that if you have an extra, I don't know, under 20 bucks, give this thing a try. I really wanted to bring this to your attention because I think it is something that everyone can use, everyone can do, and it literally takes 2 screws, and now all of a sudden you'll end up with a slightly better signal than you had before. And that is what is so mission critical. Like I said from the beginning, you can always go with a mesh network. It is recommended by me to do a mesh network. And don't do this thing. Let me finalize with this. I can't tell you how many people will take multiple routers and they will, let's say my router is called Bevel. Why? Because I call my Starlink Mr. Bevel. Now, so the SSID is called Bevel. And then you'd have a password. Let's say the password is 12345. Then what people will do is they'll get multiple routers and stick them all over their home or all over their office and then have the same SSID. So it'd be Bevel and Bevel and Bevel and Bevel. And then they'll put the same password on every one of them. 12345, 12345, so on and so forth. What does this do? This allows you to move to any part of the home or office and be able to log into the router that's closer to that. But the word here is log in. It doesn't automatically migrate from place to place to place. So if you are in the center and now you go all the way to the outer periphery of your home and now there's a router there, okay, that doesn't mean it's going to switch over because it won't. As long as you still have some signal from the first, even though your signal goes all the way down to, let's say, 2 out of 5 bars, but there's a router all the way over there that has 5 out of 5 bars, it still will not transfer. You follow me? You would have to actually now log into the new one, the one that's closest to you there. It doesn't do it automatically like a mesh network does. The way the mesh network works is as you wander around, it is continuously checking those APs, those access points, to see which one has the strongest signal to you. And then it will automatically shift you from access point to access point to access point as you're moving around. That is how you do it. Don't do this multiple router nonsense. I can't even tell you how many people do that. You're the guy. Or you're the gal. I know you are. Don't do it anymore. Either build a mesh network, build it properly. Take a look at one of my videos on mesh networks. I did a lot of them, and there's a lot of really good information in those that I did. Or just simply give this a try and put that thing up as high as it can go, stick it on the wall where it's open air, and see how that is. See how much further you can push that Wi-Fi signal and still get the strength that you need to get the speed that you're looking for. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this content, throw it a thumbs up. That'll be very helpful. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not. If you are, click this little button so when I go live or when a new video comes out, you'll be notified of it immediately. And if you want to say thank you for all of my hard work on this channel, there's a little thank you button. You can click on that, give $1 or $2 if you like. If not, that's fine too. Consider becoming a member of the channel. That would be even better. And if you have not downloaded any of my free ebooks, go check them out. Once again, 100% free. Go to JCristina.com/books. Once again, JCristina.com/books. And finally, if you are looking for a VPN, or if you need to do port forwarding, or if you want a static IP address, go check out PureVPN. They gave us a promo code, which is JCristina. You could use that at checkout and get 15% off, additional percent off at that. Or you could use the link JCristina.com/VPN. Once again, JCristina.com/VPN. And lastly, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools I've invented for you and me over the years. And hopefully there's something there that you might like. And if there is, please pick it up and support me and my family. That's it, guys. I'm out of here for another vlog. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you in the next one. Love you all.